This past summer, I listened to a message, watched a message on my computer of a dynamic speaker by the name of Joey Ekers. Some of you maybe have never heard him speak, but I'm sitting in my office and I'm watching this and I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, I'm saying to God, this guy's got a gift. God, you've given him a gift. And people need to hear his heartbeat. And so I told Joey, I said, Joey, listen, Joey is a senior in our youth group here on our Next Gen ministry with all these guys. Raise your hand over there, guys, with all these guys. Brad doing a great job, his team. He's got a set of parents that are unbelievable who have invested in him. But God's designed him for something. I said, Joey, I want you to share your testimony, your message on a Sunday morning with me. He said, all right, when? I said, well, as soon as it fits, as soon as it fits. So every month I get an email since summer from Joey. Is this the week? Is this the week? You know, it's coming, it's coming. Well, this is the week, and I want you to give him a hand and let him share this morning.
Thank you. So, like Jeff said, I'm in the high school ministry here at church, here at Northside, and we do a lot of cool events, but the most impactful to me has always been a week-long camp during the summer called CIY, where we all go down, it's usually in a different state, to a college campus, and we have this week-long camp, and it always pushes me to move to the next step of my relationship with Christ. And this past summer, there was this pastor named Andy, and he gave this illustration that I want to share with you today. He said, you know, me and the neighborhood kids, we always used to go out and play. And every day, some kid would make some crazy claim like, oh, I can do a double backflip on a trampoline or something. And they would always kind of laugh and look at him and we'll say, prove it. And so my challenge standing here today to you is, a lot of you raised your hand when you said you believe, so you call yourselves Christians. Are you a Christian? Prove it. That's a pretty bold claim to say you've given your whole life to Christ, so are you a Christian? Prove it. Like if I were to stand up here and say, I can lift 300 pounds. None of you laughed. Wow, thanks. But if I said that, you would look at me and say, prove it. That's a pretty bold claim because I'm skinny and I have very few muscles. So I'm saying the same thing to you. One of my favorite quotes comes from a man named C.S. Lewis. He's an apologist, theologian, author, speaker. He said one time, he said, Christianity, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The only thing that it can't be is moderately important. So what does that mean? If God exists that we believe, he's the most important thing that's ever existed in this universe ever. And if he doesn't exist, he's of no importance. The only thing that it can't be is this middle ground that we're stuck in. See, the only thing he can't be is a once-a-week thing and then forget about him the rest of the week. The only thing he can't be is, well, I'm going to wake up and do my devotion like a good little Christian does, but then forget about him the rest of the day. See, the only thing he can't be is somewhat important. Yet we treat him like that every day. So I ask you again, are you a Christian? Prove it. You know, one thing that really bothers me is when someone often says, oh, I'm a pretty good Christian, but, this person, they're an amazing Christian. They're like so good, like there's some kind of ranking on Christianity, right? That's ridiculous. Because as it says in Luke chapter 14, verse 33, those of you who do not give up everything, you cannot be my disciples. Those of you who don't give up everything, you can't be my disciples. It's not like, oh, it depends on how much you give, on how good of a Christian you are. No, it's not like that. So either you give up everything, all your gifts, talents, abilities, or you don't. That's it. It's really black and white. You give up everything or you don't. See, this God, if you want to love him with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, you got to become obsessed with this God. You got to love this God. You got to make all your decisions in his best interest, and you got to not only have him as your first priority, but your one and only priority, and everything else follows, and that's when you can call yourself a Christian. So I ask again, are you a Christian? Prove it. One of my favorite verses from the New Testament comes from 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. And it says, if you don't love, then you don't know God, because God is love. That's a scary thought. From someone who works in retail, when someone comes in 2 minutes before we close, there are not some holy thoughts going on in my head. And in that moment, I have no idea who God is, because God is love. I'm no longer seeing him move or see his work, because I'm lacking this love. Look, I'm not going to stand up here and try to say that all it takes to be a Christian is love. But I am saying that you can't be a Christian without it. I promise you that. And if you don't believe me because I'm an 18-year-old kid who doesn't even know how to do his own taxes, fact check me. Look at the Bible. Find somewhere where it says love isn't important. I challenge you. You know, outside these doors, there are a lot of people who feel like God and Christians hate them, right? When someone asks you about a Christian, you immediately think of a judgmental, hateful person. And every time we see someone with like a face full of tattoos, oh, we're better than them. Oh, a homosexual, we're better than them. No, that's ridiculous. We all sin, we all mess up. But the only way that they're going to be saved is for us, representing Christ, to love on them. That's the only way. And so I challenge all of you. I love Just challenges that he gave you. Email or write someone a note or just do a random act of kindness, but don't let it stop after this week. Because if you stop that, you're going to fall into the same trap that I fell into when I was in middle school. Man, I was an arrogant jerk. And eventually I hit rock bottom, and it was the worst time of my life. Because when you aren't giving, you're not getting anything back. And so yet again, I ask you, are you a Christian? Prove it.